Commissioners, would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young. Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, we have before us the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of January 13, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve same, waiving the reading thereof?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you. Okay, this brings us to our first public portion of the meeting. And Joel, hang on a second. I'm going to look to Corey, then hang on. I've got the crew texting me. Hold on a second. Real time. Corey is going to talk during the first public portion. Okay, there's my cue. Thank you, Joel. Corey, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, sir.
So today I wanted to present a new initiative that we were recently awarded. The Lake County Workforce Development Board was recently awarded $250,000 from the Business Resource Network subgrant through the state of Ohio. The purpose and spirit of this funding is to creatively expand our business services teams, business outreach, and employer engagement. So as we know, the job market has been continuously changing, and as we continue to navigate through this pandemic, we've been learning and embracing additional ways to engage employers. And the goal of the Business Resource Network grant is to further connect with our local employers and provide exceptional and increased business services. So last year's job market laid the foundation for what these services will be utilized for. And the coming year will showcase the return on investment with these workforce projects. The Ohio Means Jobs Business Services team will use each project to provide themselves the tools necessary to expand and provide exemplary services. Our objective is to continue expanding our business services team, their experience, and the outreach to the many employers and trusted companies in Lake County that still need our assistance to regain the workforce void created during the pandemic. I believe outreach to our local businesses and the promotion of our career services are essential to helping drive this grant. And the funding will allow our business services team to expand their outreach and further promote the many services the Ohio Means Jobs Lake County team can provide for all our businesses. And so we're excited to have received this grant and look forward to putting forward a couple initiatives very soon that will help benefit the businesses in the area.
Well done. Commissioner Young, Commissioner Plechnik, anything?
Mr. President, first of all, this is a huge thing for Lake County that once again we brought in outside funding, not burdening our taxpayers specifically, to help our businesses and to connect jobs and job seekers, which has really become the challenge. We used to say we need to create jobs. Now the challenge is connecting jobs and job seekers. And I'm grateful that you've had flexibility and creativity in this role and that you continue, like our other departments, to reach out for outside funding so it's not burdening the taxpayer. You can ask our head of Job and Family Services. When we considered folks for the position, we were very demanding. And to this point, Mr. Vojak, you have exceeded our expectations. You have been at every ribbon cutting. You've introduced yourself to every new business in the county. And you've worked hard to bring funding in so that we can continue to expand the services that we provide to our businesses and to our job seekers. This is really exciting for Lake County, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next and what you do with this source of funds.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that's really important because we have to be active in bolstering the workforce here in Lake County, and it's important to engage as many employers as possible and be creative in our approach, especially at the pandemic now, to create and upskill our workforce. So, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Young, anything?
Not at this point. No.
Very good. Thank
Very
you.
impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Corey, thank you again. Okay, anyone? All right, moving on, continuing with our public portion. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the board? Mr. Music, please.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Painesville Township. I just want to make a comment on last week's meeting. I heard our sheriff speak, and the thing about it is I agree with him 100% in regards to the law enforcement, the prosecutors, and the judges. Without them, we will not have our law enforcement in this county, nor will we have any order in this county. Without law enforcement, we have no order. And I just wanted to say, I thank them for all three for doing what they do. And you know, you hear all the time, it's just like there was a governor over on the West Coast said, this looks like a third world country. And he made that statement, and in my opinion, it's due to lack of law enforcement. And the thing about it is, just like, I'll just make this short because I only got a few minutes here. But anyhow, I'm sure you've heard of the Few Good Men, that movie with Jack Nicholson, and I didn't agree what he did on that Code Red. So anyhow, the thing about it is, I do agree with one thing he said. You know, he was head of the naval base at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba and so forth, and he protected the people and so forth, and he said, and I'm going to add a few words, I'm not quoting him. He says, and when people go to parties, they don't talk about this. Well, I'll say when people go to parties and meetings, they don't talk about it. And these are the things that need to be talked about. I mean, we all talk about the good things that happen, but we don't talk about the bad things that are happening, and we need to do this. And the transparency, like our sheriff had brought up about some incidents, and like I know there was an incident here in Painesville. This is our county seat, on Grant Street, then we had the one off Jackson Street. And I went to the post office the other day, maybe you've heard something. And there was a sign, and I took it a picture on the door, and I took a picture of it. It said, due to security concerns, I thought, wow, the lobby'd only be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. I thought, wow. And I did a search, I couldn't find nothing on it and so forth. But to see that at our post office, I was just sort of taken aback. You know, like, wow, this is our county seat, and what's going on, you know? And the thing about it is, it's like, you know, in my opinion, lawlessness breeds more lawlessness. And we must do what we have to do to enforce our laws. Just like the other day, you know, the other day I was at the corner of Prospect and State Street, and a car in front of me, we both stopped at the traffic light. They were in front of me, and the person looked both ways and made a left turn on red. I know we can make a right turn on red in Ohio, you know, and so forth. And I thought, you know, people say, oh, that, so be it. I've seen that twice in the last month and a half where people have actually they had stopped, but then they made a turn. You know, and the thing about it is, like I think the sheriff said, he says, we can't be everywhere and all the time. And I agree with that statement. It's humanly impossible. So I'll have some more to say after a while, but the thing, next session, but I'm just saying, I want to thank the sheriff, the prosecutor's office, and the judges for doing what they do here in Lake County. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Anyone else? Very good. Moving on with the agenda. Madam Clerk, item 1, please.
In the engineer's office, resolution authorizing change order number 1 for the Bates Road and County Line Road reconstruction project with Roniak Paving Incorporated, decreasing the amount by $12,594.98, OPWC number DGY03, LCE project number 2020-012.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Anything you want to add, sir?
Sure, we can always discuss these. These are good ones because we're closing last year's jobs out. And that's what this is. And the next one also, there are change orders. closing those particular contracts out with the contractor, and we'll be ready to start all new, which, while I've got the microphone, I will tell you, because I have a meeting in Columbus next Thursday, we will have 3 roads coming on. These are federal aid roads for next year's program for advertising. And so that's the start of our new paving season, and there'll be more to follow.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anything for our county engineer? Very good. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing change order number 1 for the Cryle Road widening project with Roniak Paving Incorporated, decreasing the amount by $337.80, LCE project number 2017-005.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll, or did you want
Yeah,
to? Yes, sir.
I will make a comment on this particular one also, because this is Cryle Road. This project, as you know, was requested by the people that have businesses along Cryle Road. We've been talking back and forth about this. This project was strictly adding a center lane for turning and paving the rest of the road as we tore it up and widened it. And this came out very well. The people there, the commercial people, are very happy. The township is very happy. And I have to say that Roniak did an outstanding job, and he did it 6 weeks sooner than expected. So we had a lot of phone calls about the timing and that kind of thing, as you can expect from people that need a roadway to get to sell their product. But this worked out really well, and everybody cooperated extremely well in the end. And so we made a few people happy this year. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anything else for the engineer?
Mr. President,
Sir.
just a thanks to our county engineer's office. It's hard to pave a road without complaints. So when you're getting compliments, that's extraordinary. And to return a little bit of money too in an age of inflation, this is a very happy end to a project.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595, Tall Tree Booster Station Improvement Project 414W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Sir.
is this Tall Tree in Willoughby Hills? Could you explain a little bit about what this is?
Sure. This is a booster station project that is under contract. It's increases the pressure in that kind of south west corner of the county, Willoughby Hills, to mostly to reach the high rises up on the ridge, and we're replacing that pump station as part of our capital improvement plan.
Will there be any disturbance to residents in the area or largely go unnoticed?
It should go unnoticed. They're getting ready to set the, it's a unit that's delivered, the booster station. They've got most of the piping put together, and no, they shouldn't see any disruption in service or anything like that as far as that goes.
Thank you so much.
Very good. All right, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations in Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $1,502,846.10 for Vine Street Waterline Replacement Phase 1 Project number 430W and advertising for bids for the same, bid opening February 23rd, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I'm guessing there will be some disruption in service on this project. Can you give us a sense?
There will be not so much disruption in water service, but certainly it's a very crowded area, Vine Street. This is phase 1 of ultimately 3 phases that we'll do over the next 3 or 4 years. But we have done similar projects on Lakeshore and other busy corridors in the area, and everybody's able to get in and out, but there could be some delays as far as traffic and that sort of thing.
So water and sewer services will probably be maintained throughout the project, but we'll just have to deal with some road issues.
Exactly, yeah. Now, there will be some interruptions as we do put the new water line in. We will have to connect each building or each house, whatever the case might be, in there. So there are short periods of time where water will be unavailable, but we do make sure everybody's notified and is aware, and we work around anybody's schedule if they need. We also occasionally do these at night if it works out for the businesses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. If there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations on Project Fund 596, Project 457S Barbara Drive Sanitary Improvements.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding the operation, monitoring, and maintenance of the Lake County Solid Waste Facility Gas Collection and Control System to Stearns, Conrad, and Schmidt Consulting Engineers Incorporated.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, this one's kind of a little bit of a mouthful. You want to break it down in plain English? I think this mostly has to do with the odors and just managing all those bits and pieces over there.
It does.
How's
yeah.
that for breaking it way far too down?
That's pretty close. In a nutshell, there's the landfill generates, the waste generates methane gas, and we have to control that. And that's what this company will help maintain. That we install the infrastructure, and they will make sure that the gas gets taken away and destroyed per the regulations for EPA.
And there was always been talk of collecting it and monetizing it. That those challenges to get it to that concentrated level, that was also one of the concerns where the odors become perceptible in the community.
It is. That's still part of our plan. Long-range plan is to get some way to reuse this methane and to get a benefit out of that. Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Sheriff's Central Communications Department and the Village of Timberlake for Central Dispatch and Communications Services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just say that the mayor of Timberlake has said to me that at some point he'd love to have a tour of Central Dispatch, so I think we want to look to arranging that so he can see for himself how we're serving his village. But I think that we've done an exemplary job to this point, which is why we have a new agreement on the table. But we actually did discuss his desire to see how the rubber hits the road.
Very good, and our sheriff gave a hearty, friendly nod yes to that, so I thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. All right, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Sheriff's Central Communications Department and the Madison Fire District for Central Dispatch and Communications Services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the President of the Lake County Board of Commissioners to execute an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners and the City of East Lake for funds received from the U.S. Department of Treasury under the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds known as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Jason, you want to come on up and give us a little bit of background on that for the viewing audience?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. As most folks are aware, the county will ultimately receive approximately $44 million in ARPA funds from the Coronavirus Relief Act that the clerk just mentioned. We have two projects to date that you guys approved, before the last fall, winter. One was the partnership with the health district and the mobile medical clinic to help the district serve our underserved areas throughout the community, pop-up vaccine facilities and so on. That's been a success. The second one is to help folks with housing issues using low-income thresholds to help folks with hot water tanks, roofs, and so on. So those are our first two projects that were approved. And this is a project under the eligibility category that talks about industries that were impacted, travel and tourism destination-based amenities throughout the county that aren't eligible use under the federal ARPA guidelines. The county has been in discussions with the city of Eastlake, who is the owner of the Captain Stadium. I believe the mayor is here today. And some of the capital needs that the city is looking to and need to address in the near term as far as keeping that facility in standards that they're required to meet. We have met with the city, the captains. This project was reviewed by myself as far as eligibility. It was reviewed by McDonald Hopkins as far as eligibility. We have a memo in the file noting the eligibility. We also have a memo, or in the same memo, about the procurement process to obtain the lights. This has all received concurrence from Mr. Hackman in the prosecutor's office. So what's in front of you today is the authorization for the president of the board to sign this agreement with the city of Eastlake, and they will manage the installation of the new lights at Captain Stadium. I believe this will go on council's agenda the first or second week of February. So we're excited to assist the city of Eastlake and get this ARPA project moving forward.
It's fair to say this is the first big expense now that we have the final guidance come through. Just making sure that we're checking off all the boxes and make sure we're in full compliance. Very good.
Mr. President?
Sir.
If I could just add, one of the most significant anchor institutions in Lake County are the Lake County Captains. They are a professional sports team. They're not just an economic driver in Eastlake. They really bear up the entire west side, whether you're looking at our hotel or entertainment industries, the bars, the restaurants. They are a destination. And it's critically important that we maintain their presence. And that requires a strong partnership with the city of Eastlake, which owns and manages the stadium. It means a strong partnership with the team and the ownership. And we have to address the challenges that the shutdowns from COVID-19 caused. I mean, if you look at minor league baseball, something on the order of 40, 50 teams have closed, have shut down, are gone, period. Which, by the way, has increased the demand for minor league baseball teams among different cities throughout the country, because if you've lost your team and you have a vacant stadium, guess what? You're looking for a new one. And I don't think it's any secret, as we've had conversations about the Browns and other teams possibly coming, going, leaving. It has happened in Cleveland. It can happen here. You have to be competitive in the way you build a stadium and maintain an environment to keep a team. Talk about this in the same context with 40, 50 teams closing. I'm not sure how many people saw the headlines that the Lake County Captains were actually promoted. You hear about baseball players being promoted all the time. Oh, they went from single A to triple A or triple A to majors, but teams are almost never promoted. When the Lake County Captains were promoted to High A, that was a historic moment for Lake County and for Northeast Ohio. We probably won't live to see another minor league baseball team in Ohio promoted. It's such a rare occurrence. So we have a very valuable asset in the Captains. This is our long-term commitment to keeping them here in Lake County, in Eastlake. And I'm excited that the first major investment of ARPA dollars is in fact an investment, a long-term expenditure that will help to keep one of the most important economic drivers in Lake County here in Eastlake.
Yeah. It's well said, Commissioner. If I might add, and it's in my correspondence, in addition to the captains in the baseball, there's, according to some data from the baseball team, they get about 200 to 250,000 folks in and out of that stadium. It's not just the baseball games, but some of the other events that the city puts forth. The parking receipts from the parking lot across the street negatively impacted to the tune of about zero. When you have no visitors, you have no parking, you have no revenue. And there's also some data from the captains, about $2.5 million in direct output on indirect and local business-to-business activity with the restaurants, on the Vine Street corridor and so on. So it's been a pleasure to work with the mayor's office and the captains and the commissioners, and I look forward to continuing the partnership.
Yeah.
Pretty good, Commissioner Young?
Yeah, please. Thank you, Mr. President. This really is very important to Lake County. I remember when I operated my recruiting firm, I was trying to get a high-level guy as a plant manager to relocate here to Cleveland, to Lake County, in fact. And the reason he finally decided to come to Cleveland was because of the Indians, because they were winning then. He said, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that. So he dropped everything, left his career, and moved here to sort of reboot his future. But baseball is America's game. And people care about a community that cares enough about baseball to have this kind of, to create this kind of an environment where the community comes together, supporting the team, where the stadium is used for a number of community events. This is important for all the reasons that Commissioner Plesnik just mentioned, and also for just building this camaraderie, this sense of community right here in Lake County. So I'm really excited about this project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
I believe, yes, we do have Mayor Morley in the audience. And I can say Mayor Morley has been a fantastic partner as we've gone through the process of evaluating, reviewing, and bringing us to this point. So, sir?
First of all, Mr. Pleshnik, we just handled the John Mara for Timberlake. We're going to have our mayors and managers at the EMA talk to the sheriff and Joe Busher while you were discussing that, so that will be handled.
Job done.
Secondly, I appreciate everything the commissioners have done on this. As I've talked through the many years since I became mayor, and the city of Eastlake, with all the investment that we've put into that stadium right about now, when it's final, said and done, we've paid $35 million from our tax dollars from the city of Eastlake for that stadium. The former mayor 3 terms ago was right. It wasn't going to cost us a dime. It cost us $35 million. And our residents have, we take it's a $1.4 million a year out of our general fund to pay the stadium. We were lucky enough last year with Carol Ann and I, our finance director, that we redid the bonds to shave off 5 years to pay that off in 2026. When the lease with the captains is up, we are beginning negotiations for a long-term lease. We want the captains to stay there. But most of all, from the three of you and Jason and Dave and everyone that's been working on this, I'm glad someone acknowledged it's the Lake County captains and that someone's ready to invest into our stadium. And we're looking forward to the rest of the things we've been talking to. And again, this just wasn't done overnight. We've been working on it for months, making sure that everything was handled properly, and we feel comfortable with that. Once you sign off, it will go to our city council on February 8th. I've been in contact with Jen Yorko, the GM from the captains, so we can get that signed with the group that's going to be putting the lights. But I can't emphasize how much work everyone has put into this to get this done, and we're looking forward to working together for some of the other things that we need done there. But I appreciate it from me and City Council and the City of Eastlake. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything for our mayor? All right, thank you, sir. Oh, come on, we could have pulled him back. All right, well, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution setting the date, time, and place for a public hearing on the proposed vacation of 982.06 feet of Old Vrooman Road in Leroy Township and 2,454.30 feet of Vrooman Road in Perry Township. Hearing scheduled for Thursday, February 17, 2022 at 10 a.m. here in the chambers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Jim, do you want to chime in on that one? I believe you've commented on this in the past.
Yeah. What we're doing here, Commissioners, is we are vacating a section of Vrooman Road that is no longer in use because of the rerouting and the bridge and so forth. That is in the park, basically. So it'll run from about where the last house is on the new Old Vrooman Road all the way up to State Route 84. That whole piece then will go to the park system, and they will have control of that road. This is the first part of a series of commitments that we made to the park system in order to get permission for them to build a bridge, across their property and across the Grand River.
Very good. Anything else for the engineer? Sir, thank you. All right, with that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And the Finance Department resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $1,233,617.71.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $906,520.58.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing and decreasing appropriations through various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring appropriations within various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Very good. We're now at our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities. Randy?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Plechnik must have been reading my notes for today's report as he mentioned the interruptions a couple of times. I wanted to say that in January and February typically is when we have our most water main breaks. As the frost drives deeper into the ground, the pipes get a little more brittle, and we tend to have a majority of our breaks during the winter time, and they are starting up a little bit now. Obviously it was very cold this morning, but it does take a few days for that frost to get driven. So all I would ask is that people have patience. Our guys are out there in this weather repairing these breaks. They do a fantastic job and respond very quickly to those reports of breaks, and we'll make sure that we get them fixed promptly.
And more often than not, those repairs are self-performed within the utilities department.
Correct.
Very good. Anything else?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I just say we're grateful to the Department of Utilities for always resolving those water main breaks so quickly. I'll never forget the great boil alert of 2018 Thanksgiving. I think many of us remember it because it's awfully hard to cook a turkey or boil soup when you don't know if your water is usable. So I know that there's an incredible amount of work that goes into resolving these things quickly, localizing them, letting residents know who are and who aren't affected. And I'll just say that whenever a boil alert does occur, if you go directly to the Department of Utilities, you're going to know whether you're impacted or not. Sometimes people hear boil alert and think it's the entire county when it's really just a few streets. So it does pay to pay attention so that you're not concerned when you may not even be impacted.
Very good. And as long as we're bringing up the past, that was a perfect example, though, of message management, rumor control, that rumors were flying. I believe Jason and Matt Armand were there, and it was interesting watching them work with the dispatchers, carving out the exact area that needed to be notified. You want to comment on message management? Because that was actually a really good example of getting the word out there.
I think the point of going right directly to our website is great advice. That's the where you're going to get the most current information and the most accurate information. Either that, or also on social media with Facebook and those sort of things. We push out information that way. We receive calls from lake counties and other states and wondering if they were under a boil report. So, yeah, the website is going to be the best information. Best place to find accurate information.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Moving on to Job and Family Services. Suzanne.
No report today, Commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President,
Sir.
I've had the question a couple times as we've publicized the great work of our workforce development group. Where are they? Where are they housed? We know the answer, but perhaps you could elaborate.
Of course. course. So those folks are housed in the Ohio Means Jobs, or the OMJ Career Center, located right across the street in the Job and Family Services building. So we have some of our Job and Family Services employees that are ready and waiting to serve any member of the public who is interested in starting their career or honing in on some skills to get some more experience, to seek another job. And we also have some contractors that also work in the OMJ Center prepared to assist the public.
Are there any eligibility requirements, or can any Lake County resident come to you for help?
Any Lake County resident could come into the Career Center for help, but there are some specific criteria requirements for specific programs. So what I always recommend is to have anyone who's interested in seeking help to come into the center and work with our career specialists to determine what they may or may not be eligible for.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very good. Okay, moving on to County Administrator Jason Boyd.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just briefly, and I see the recorder in the back of the room today. I know we had a budget hearing with Ms. Lynch last week. Last week? This week? This week. My days are running together. I worked with Ms. Lynch and Mr. Matus the past couple of days on a good news press release about her proactive budgeting approach and what's been able to be saved in the general fund to the tune of a little bit over $1 million. So it's always a bit of good news. And on behalf of the Commissioners, I want to thank the County Recorder, and we'll push this press release out this afternoon. So thank you.
Very good. Anything else for the Administrator?
Mr. President, I would just say Mr. Boyd is referring to over $1 million being returned to the taxpayer, to the general fund by the Recorder's Office. It truly is a remarkable thing when a department head says, I've been given too much in my budget. I will return money to the taxpayer. It's not something we hear from Washington, D.C., I'll tell you that. But this is common in Lake County. Our Clerk of Courts has returned back hundreds of thousands of dollars to help support our Sheriff's Office and put more deputies on the streets. Our Recorder has returned over the last 4 years over $1 million. I mean, this is a story we hear over and over again in Lake County because we have truly caring people who treat the tax dollars as if they were their own. And as a Slovenian whose patron saint is St. Clair Savings and Loan, I'm very grateful to our Recorder for being such a careful steward of our taxpayer dollars.
I just I just want to add, I was at a meeting last night, and Becky was there, Becky Lynch, our Recorder, whom we're speaking of right now. And it was mentioned that she had returned those monies. And they asked her to say a few words. And so Becky stood up, and she very apologetically, looking at the floor and holding her microphone, said, yes, that's right. We were able to return those monies, and I appreciate your recognition. She said it so apologetically. I mean, who apologizes for giving money back from your department? We have department heads who are constantly demanding more funding, more funding, more funding. And in some cases, it's being demanded for issues that are at least somewhat questionable. But Becky walks into the room and voluntarily, without question, returns those monies because she knows it's the right thing to do. It just as Commissioner Plesnick said, it was more than she was budgeted for. She didn't need the money to operate, knowing what the taxpayers' goal is and the operation of her department, what their goals are, what their assignments are. She completed all of those in spectacular fashion and still had over $1 million left over. So she returned that money to the people. That is most impressive. And I appreciate this opportunity to say thank you, Becky. Well done.
Very good. Okay, moving on to Clerk. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention our next Commissioners meeting is going to be next Thursday, February 3rd at 10 a.m.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Let's see. County Engineer, sir, do you have anything else to add today?
No, I think
Not really. I think now we're doing the best we can to push the snow out of the intersections and so forth. We've had almost 36 inches of snow in the last 10, 12 days here in Lake County, and the guys are been working 12 double 12s. So we're catching up with it. There is just absolutely no place to put the snow, and if it's just what we need is the people to slow down a little bit and to be patient. And it's winter. Lake County. Thank you.
No, well said. I think it's appropriate to say thank you to the state, the county, and the municipal workers that have been doing everything they can under difficult circumstances to keep the streets clear and continue to be trying to stay ahead of things. And if I remember correctly, we got the notice that our salt stock seems to be holding up quite well.
Very well. Our new facility is really doing its job. We're staying well ahead of it. We've already ordered some more salt to fill it up, but we still have right now, after all this, probably about half our salt supply on hand. So that'd be about 3,000, 3,500 tons all total in our location. So yeah, we're really in good shape, and it's kind of a nice feeling, because for years we've, in a snowstorm like this, and everybody drawing salt and using a lot of salt, there's a fight from the suppliers to get it on time and so forth. So it's nice.
Now that investment in that new facility is truly paying off, because pretty much every year we get we need to get more salt, and the supply chain issues under normal circumstances have been daunting. So thank you for getting out in front of that and being visionary enough to get us through all this.
Mr. President?
Sir.
I think it's safe to say that the vote last year to build a new salt storage facility was worth its salt.
Oh, good golly. Okay, Ron.
Can I leave? Can I leave? After that, I gotta get out of here.
Now, don't get salty now. Oh boy. All
Salts
right.
of the earth, yes.
Oh, okay, folks. The wheels are coming off. Moving on quickly to the sheriff, sir. Would you care to give us an update on the facility, the jail facility? We've had some challenges of recent that might be of interest to those who care.
Yes, to go over a number of things. First of all, Mr. Music missed a line in there. You can't handle the truth. We want to thank John for his support on behalf of Lake County law enforcement. We very much appreciate it. As Mayor Morley said, we'll set up a thing at our Central Communication Center to give tours. It's always open to give tours to people. We have a new communications wall out at our Central, so we can see all the highways, we can see cameras around the city, and in emergency you can see everything going on the communications wall. So it's an impressive center to be part of. Two issues involving the sheriff's office that I wanted to briefly update. We are continuing to have major problems in the jail with the physical plant itself. A number of weeks ago, I forwarded information on our roof, the condition of the roof. The membrane is blowing and tearing, and at times during some of the high wind storms, the membrane is probably 3 feet to 5 feet off the roof itself and tearing. That's the third roof condition, but the problem is the water has gone everywhere. So that's the second part, is our 5th floor lost all power because water's in all the conduits running through our electrical lines. So fortunately, Mr. Stefanko has reworked some of the power to get power to those locations, but it's going to be a continuing problem with all the electrical through the entire building because of the water that has come from our roofing system and destroyed all that. There's no way to get to that conduit, so all new conduit and wiring needs to be run through some of those locations. As well, this weekend, our data processing center lost all power because of lines running to the condenser on the roof. The problem is all the information for the computers for the sheriff's office and daily operations goes through that center. So you have redundancy. Only problem is we have 3 redundancies, they just go to one condenser. So there really isn't any redundancy, and that's a major problem. Fortunately, Buildings and Grounds was able to get temporary power into that to get that corrected. But those are marked signs of the deterioration in the building, and I think it's important to note what's problematic. Fortunately, Buildings and Grounds, Mark Eiffelis and Mr. Stefanko have been able to do patchwork, but those problems continue. The second point, today you'll see in the paper that grants were given out to on body cameras. The Lake County Sheriff's Office, through the Commissioner's Office and their support, invested in body cameras in November. We were one of the last places in the county to do that as law enforcement for a number of reasons, which I discussed earlier. Well, what's problematic is we didn't get the grant that we applied for. And so I've been making numerous calls down to Columbus. We are appealing that decision because Lake County should have qualified. There were many misconceptions down at the state of Ohio as to why we didn't get that grant. We're correcting those. But one of the major problems, and it was something that was approved last week by the commissioners, we're going to a whole new software system where we're updating our current Hexagon software, which is about 3 versions behind, which is a costly upgrade. But one of the reasons that upgrade is going on is our ability to report information to NIBRS, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, and OIBRS, which is the Ohio Incident-Based Reporting System. They said you're not doing that currently, so that's one of the reasons why you got denied the camera grant. So we explained, no, we are working on that, we are getting that corrected, but there's no way to go back through and get that reporting to OIBRS because of our software system. So we're investing significantly to be able to do that. But what's important to note why we need to do that, if we don't do NIBRS reporting, we also don't get federal grants. And so it affects federal and state grants, so we are working to correct all those various issues. And now, if you have any other questions.
And just to point out that the state did allow a workaround. There was a portal that information could be entered into, and the state took that offline.
Yes, they did.
So, dropped it back on the county.
Okay.
Regarding the jail, is it fair to say, though, we are talking about, again, as I keep beating this drum, bad design from the beginning and end of service life issues. There's just a number of those we're dealing with right now. This is right in front of us. We're being confronted with this today.
Yes.
Very good. Commissioner Young, Commissioner Pleshnik.
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just say this is why the county commissioners, on the recommendation of our Lake County Corrections Board, have been pursuing the design of a new jail with all deliberate speed. This is a government project. The Ohio Revised Code has a procedure for how we have to go about building any building, but we are working as quickly as possible to select a criterion architect to begin the process, because putting more money into the current jail is throwing good money after bad. We have to keep it operable. It has to be safe at all times. We have to repair it, but it would be a real shame to put millions of dollars into a new roof, as difficult as the old roof is, when the building itself has a very limited shelf life. So this is why we're working so hard to expedite the process, so we don't have to waste taxpayer dollars to keep a building just barely operable. We're hopeful that we can maintain it sufficiently for the last few years of its useful life as we build the new jail, but the sooner the new jail is built, the less money we have to spend on the old jail, and there is a savings there. So I'm committed to getting this job done as quickly as possible. We 100% support the sheriff's office in this endeavor, and we're all collectively working together to save the taxpayers money by getting this new jail built as soon as possible, because I literally suffer every time I put $1 into the old building, because I know it's just buying us a little bit of time.
I just want to say that I really appreciate your efforts as the leader over there, the sheriff, making all this work together. In spite of the challenges, in spite of the difficulties, you still score extremely high on all the state inspections as far as your operations are concerned. You've managed to keep it operating in spite of the challenges that are inherent in the structure. And it's very impressive what you've managed to achieve over there, in spite of all these complications.
Well, I appreciate it, but I think your staff, Paul Stefanko at Telecommunications and Mark Eifelis with Buildings and Grounds are doing amazing things with that building. So you have very good department heads there. Makes a big difference.
And I do want to be abundantly clear that the state review is about adherence to policies, procedures, activities that are mandated. The facility is a separate issue. I know there was some confusion about that earlier in the year. I just don't want to accidentally swerve back into that. Sheriff, did you want to maybe take a moment and
Well, I think what's important to note is the jail and the sheriff's office have been compliant with all the major things. There was a question whether we are in compliance with the Ohio Collaborative, and we are in compliance with the new rules coming out of the state of Ohio. We are in full compliance with that. We were the first jail in Ohio in 1995 to be in full compliance with the administrative all Ohio minimum jail standards, which few jails have since been able to achieve. So we do stay in compliance with all the state requirements in terms of how to operate a facility, safe conditions, policies, medical treatment, and those types of areas. One other point I want to mention real quickly is we just applied for $146,000 to come back to the county for our psychotropic drugs that are given to the mentally ill in the jail. So that should make it about $200,000 we'll get back in from the state for some of the medical issues in the jail.
Mr. President?
Sir.
To Commissioner Young's point, it really is extraordinary how the sheriff and his team have worked together in what has been a very challenging and aging facility to nonetheless pass all the state tests, to take good care of the folks in that jail, to make sure that the corrections officers, the inmates, the visitors are always safe. It's not an easy challenge, but I think it really helps us that Sheriff Liam Bruno was actually the captain in charge of the jail for many years. So he has a unique body of expertise, along with the current captain in charge of the jail, Captain Brooks. The leadership team in the sheriff's office is extraordinary, and they've had a tough situation, but they've dealt with it beyond admirably.
Just a quick to mention, Captain Brooks just received the American Jail Association, which is a national organization, named her the Jail Administrator of the Year for the United States, which is big because there are hundreds of applicants for that nomination, and she was selected from that. So she'll be receiving that award in California at the National Convention.
Wow, that's exceptional. Thank you for sharing that. You saved the best for the last.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Okay, this one's going to get a glass frame, yes?
I move
Oh, here it comes.
for a resolution honoring Captain Brooks for her incredible achievement as being named Jail Administrator of the Year.
That would be fabulous.
Very
I'll
good.
second that.
Well, I suppose I'm looking at legal area. We're getting, Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call on that one.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Sorry, Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, there you go. We got to keep legal happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Always good news. Jason, on that subject, is there something you could add for us?
Yeah, regarding the Public Safety Center project and where we stand, I was remiss, I should have provided you an update. Obviously, we went to RFQ in November. I think I reported a meeting or two ago that the Commissioner's Office received 4 submittals, which were independently reviewed pursuant to the Statement of Qualification process spelled out in the revised code by the review committee. Those results were sent to me and tabulated. So we had 4 firms that provided qualifications on the Lake County Public Safety Project, and all 4 will be asked to hold discussions, i.e. interviews, to explore their firm statement of qualifications in greater detail. So you'll be getting a note from myself or the clerks on availability, along with the sheriff and the other review team members, to get interviews scheduled, hopefully in the next, probably after your budget hearings conclude in mid-February. So that process is continuing to move. So I wanted to read that into the record. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Sir.
we'd be remiss if we didn't say that this process has been guided with a lot of help from one of our very own Lake County residents, Kirtland resident Jeff Applebaum. He is a national, maybe even I should say international expert on large construction projects, including public safety centers, and we've really been blessed to have his help, his insight, his guidance in this process.
That is true. Thank you.
Very good. All right, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Very good. New business. Do we have any new business?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that President Hammercheck is also President Hammercheck of the Northeast Ohio Coordinating Authority, NOACA, our federal transit conduit for transportation dollars. And we talked about the Vrooman Road project with our county engineer Jim Gills earlier. Both the Vrooman Road Bridge and Vrooman Road resurfacing in Perry and Leroy townships were facilitated through monies that came through NOACA. And just at the last meeting, President Hammercheck was elected the head of NOACA, and it was announced that the Jackson Street Interchange is a go as one of the major upcoming projects for NOACA here in Paynesville, Lake County, Ohio. And that is a project that Doug Lewis and his team at the City of Paynesville have been working for a long time. I don't think it's a coincidence that Mr. Hammercheck's ascension to president and that announcement came on the same date. We've all been pushing for that. When Grace Galucci asked me what was my priority in coming to NOACA meetings, I said, I want all of your money. And I said, more specifically, I want the Jackson Street Interchange. And frankly, primarily through Mr. Hammercheck's work, not mine, here we are today announcing that as one of the major priorities for NOACA in the coming years, along with an announcement of over $400,000 in funding for the city of Wickliffe in light and signal upgrades on the Rockefeller Road area. So this is not about titles, it's not about praise, although praise is certainly appropriate for Mr. Hammercheck on being named president of a 5-county organization representing over 2 million people. It's about the dollars that we can bring back to Lake County to spend on practical things: roads, bridges, interchanges, traffic lights. Either it comes from our local tax dollars, which is a burden, or we get our fair share, hopefully even more than our fair share, from this multi-county conduit from the federal transportation dollars. And I know it's all of our stance as commissioners, because we all sit as board members of NOACA, that we want to bring as much back to our home in Lake County as possible, and that's what we've collectively achieved. We've all played our role, and our alternates are to be thanked as well, but we're very proud of President Hammercheck becoming president of NOACA, and beyond that, we're thrilled to announce the Jackson Street Interchange. We're excited for the city of Wickliffe, and all 3 of us are committed to bringing as much money home as possible.
Thank
I just want, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's tremendous. You know, for years I've heard complaints about NOACA, that Lake County isn't fairly treated, that we're squeezed out of projects, that we're just not getting our fair share. And the fact now we have one of our own who's ascended. He has ascended. That's I love that term, John. This is extremely impressive. Although certainly he's not going to be biased as the president. that would not be allowed. And knowing Commissioner Hammercheck, he would never be biased. Absolutely not. But at the same time, I think those complaints about Lake County being unfairly treated and somehow or another just rejected by the other members is we're well past that. We have one of our own now who we know loves Lake County, has served Lake County extraordinarily well, heading up that organization. We can look forward to great things. Jackson Street's just the beginning, I believe.
Oh, bless
so
you.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It really comes down to understanding and applying local and federal rules. Just know how the system works and take care of people when and where needed. So thank you. That's very kind to both of you. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on here now. We did have our quarterly meeting for the statewide Interoperability Executive Committee, and there were a number of topics. Lake County was one of them, our Emergency Operations Center. We are the host location for Zone 4 for the entire state of Ohio. The organization was very pleased with how we've responded to some of the the system issues with end of service life. We did have a failure at that site, which was not only immediately corrected, but this board took responsibility and properly funded correction and installed redundancy so that such a failure is very likely never going to happen again. The incident was by myself. I did bring that up, that this is a study of what we should be looking at other sites throughout the state. If it happened here, it can happen anywhere. So maintenance is critical, as our sheriff has so correctly pointed out numerous times. It's his responsibility is for the dispatch facility that is hosted at that location, as well as our Lake County Emergency Management Agency. So there are a number of critical missions that are carried out through that building and the surrounding facilities associated with it. So it was a good conversation. It was about a 2-hour discussion. We were talking about system upgrades, system integrity, security, a number of things that are going on to maintain serviceability and interoperability throughout the state and the surrounding counties in particular. So there's a number of good things in the works, and the people of Lake County are being well served and well represented. So if there's no other new business, I'll move on to our second public comment portion of our meeting. Yes, John Music. Thank you.
We want him on that wall. We need him on that wall.
And that's nothing but the truth, okay. John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Painesville Township. And I just want to throw a couple things out here, and congratulations to Captain Brooks, and only thing I can say is that we want law enforcement. That's our number one priority in the county, is to protect the citizens of this country that live in Lake County. Their number one priority. And we have to do what we got to do to give them the tools to do that. It's as simple as that. And the thing about it is, it's like sometimes they're a little difficult because of money, but we got to do what we got to do, and we try to get the most for the best price. We don't want to shirk quality at it whatsoever. So anyhow, I just wanted a couple of things. By the way, like I mentioned, that sign at the post office, I took that on January 15th at 9:56 in the morning, and then I noticed, a short period of time it was gone. But I don't know what the security concerns were there. And so the thing about it is, it's just like now, I'm sure you've all have heard where collection boxes in Cuyahoga County are getting stuff stolen out of them. And that one gentleman, I guess they had stolen some checks out that And somehow, the guy got a letter from his bank saying you have no funds in your checking account, and here somebody had wrote a check, and they had found out that somehow some people were getting into collection boxes. And I think there are 3 communities that were complaining. They believe that somebody got copies of the collection box key. And nowadays you see postal carriers getting attacked and all this stuff, and it's just very, very sad. Very sad. The post office, those carriers go to every house. You never know. Just like when the deputies go to someone's house, domestic is one of the worst things. I remember the day when I worked, and I used to go in people's homes. I never had a problem, never ever. But nowadays, sadly, we can't do that, let alone go in the house. Sometimes just going on the property, you're in trouble. And the thing about it is, it's just like, I've said this at meetings, just like last year, the State Highway Patrol got new technology for planes, and they had put an article in the paper about how many people were caught going over 100 miles an hour. To me, that's ridiculous. I mean, why is anybody going over 100 miles an hour? And the thing about it is, it's like, they got, like I said, they got new, different type of radar for their planes so they can do more detecting and everything. But, and the thing about it is, it's just like, we say, oh, that's nothing, people do it all the time, or we go through this and we don't do that. And, the most important thing, is the more law enforcement we have out there, it will reduce the crime, in my opinion. And I don't, this is what we got to do. And I've said this in meetings, and I'll say it again. We can put a gun and drugs on that counter, and nothing's ever going to happen to anybody until somebody picks it up. That gun and the drugs could sit there forever. It's not going to hurt anybody or nothing. And the thing about it is, we got to get to the point, why do some people think that they can do whatever they wish to, legal or illegal? And this is the thing we've got to find out. And my opinion, it starts at home. It comes through our educational, through K through 12 and college and so forth. And then it comes from the society that we live in. And these are the things that we've got to work on across the country. So, and in my opinion, law enforcement's the first step in that. So I want to thank the sheriff for what he does do and his staff. Do I feel we need more law enforcement? That would be his call, but I like I said, well, Suzanne isn't here. I remember when Matt was here, and I said, wouldn't it be nice if we came in here and Matt or Suzanne would say, and the sheriff would come in and say, oh yeah, work is really slow. We got nothing to do, Wouldn't that be nice someday to say that all these things were like that? But we all know, like the sheriff said, the truth. We know that isn't happening today for various reasons. So I just want to say thank you for our law enforcement, and thank you for you 3 gentlemen to help support that sheriff, because like it or not, I don't want my taxes to go up, but I also want, if someone's breaking into my house or shooting at me or something, I want somebody to respond to it. So thank you.
It's very kind of you. We are good partners with our law enforcement, and a most recent example is working with the sheriff, being a bit of a visionary and coming right out and saying, hey, we need more coverage in our townships, and working with Perry Township, Concord Township, Painesville Township as our partners, and our Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews, financially supporting that through our grant program. Those are all examples, and John, thank you for recognizing that. At the end of the day, we are facilitators, and we really do care a great deal about public safety, and one of the best ways to ensure that is through local policing. So thank you. Gentlemen, anything you want to add to that? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else wishing? Adam, yes, sir.
Adam with the Health Department.
Hang on. You got to be on the mic,
sorry.
otherwise you're just lost to history.
Adam with the Health Department. I just want to say thank you to the 3 of you. I know it was mentioned today about the vaccination van that we have. It's gone a long ways to help in the community, not only with COVID, but amongst other things. Being able to go out to the rural side of areas, and people maybe they're homebound or things of that nature. It's gone really well with the community and throughout the community. Also, I'm sure you guys get more complaints than you do to praise on stuff. I mean, obviously praise through you for helping with that. But Mr. Hackman, Joel, and Jason, we couldn't do a lot of stuff we'd do without the three of them, honestly. I know they probably hear more complaints than they do good a lot of time, but the three of them especially, amongst your other staff, have made our jobs 100 times easier. Dave and I probably talk more than he'd ever like to talk to anybody in his life about legal issues. And then obviously Joel and Jason have gone out of their way to help us with a number of things. So just want to say thank you for myself and Ron, the health commissioner. He couldn't make it today, but it means more to us than anyone will ever know. So
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for all that you and your organization are doing to support the people of Lake County, and thank you for complimenting the crew. I know Mr. Hackman is way too humble. He has been a real go-to guy for us, and he usually deflects those compliments, but we're gonna heap them upon you. Just don't file workers' comp because we've hurt your back padding it here. But you're right. We've got a good team, and in many regards, I'm going to say this team is more like a family than a team. And I think the last couple of years have really proven that. Sometimes we can have some very spirited, candid conversations. Other times, though, we just pull together and get the job done. So with that, Commissioner Pleshnik, Commissioner Young, anything you want to add?
Mr. President, I would just say, to Mr. Music's point, as we talk about public safety and law enforcement, we need to remember our county prosecutor's office, because that's the next step. If people don't know that after they're arrested, there are consequences, if they view it as a revolving door, they may or may not view that as a deterrent. So it's critically important that we have a prosecutor's office that is tough but fair, tough on crime, so that folks don't want to commit crimes in Lake County. We started this talking about workforce development and economic development. You're not going to have a successful business if people don't feel safe. There's a reason why most of our successful economic development in our shopping plaza in Willoughby Hills happened after we opened a police substation in that same plaza. It's because it gave people a sense of safety in a very high population neighborhood, the neighborhood that I live in, that this is a safe place to have a business, that this is a place where I can actually bring people in from any neighborhood. People feel comfortable, at ease being here. So law enforcement and public safety is at the core. It's one of the absolute mandatory things for any other success that we hope to achieve. So we always thank and support our sheriff, but sometimes we need to remember our county prosecutor's office too, because we have to have that tough but fair justice system so that folks know if you're going to commit a crime, Lake County ain't the place to do it.
Well said, and I think it's fair to amplify that just a little bit, that our prosecutor has a philosophy of what he calls vertical prosecution, where if there's an incident, someone's going to have a prosecutor assigned to that case, and that prosecutor follows it through the entire process. It's labor intensive. Yes, it can be expensive, but I think the results speak for themselves. So, and I know our prosecutor does have a budget hearing coming up, so I think it's fair to get that compliment in there to our prosecutor Chuck Colson as well. And that's on the criminal side. So. Commissioner Young, you look like you've got some words of wisdom you want to share with us.
Words. I'm not sure about the wisdom part of that. But just as John was saying, John Music, that fundamental is law enforcement. I think that's critical. And the police department, obviously, the prosecutor's office, but it's so fundamental that it's hard to monetize. You know, whether we have, we could have a world-class baseball team. The captains could ascend, to use Commissioner Plesnik's word there. Is that your word, by the way? I like that word.
I can't claim that I invented it, but I do like the
That's what I So at any rate, they could become a major league team. They could win the World Series. But that in and of itself, if Lake County is a place where crime is rampant and people don't feel safe on the street, that's not gonna make us grow. We could have some of the best wineries in the world. We could produce world-class wines on a regular basis. That in and of itself, without public safety assured, is not going to make Lake County grow. We could have the best beaches. The North Shore could become the Riviera of America. But still, Lake County wouldn't grow unless people feel safe. So what you're saying, John, is so important and so critical and so fundamental. And I'm glad you keep bringing it up. So thank you. Thank you.
Very good. All right, if there's, no, yes, John.
I just want to just make one quick comment.
Yes, sir.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Painesville Township. Yeah, when I said law enforcement, that includes all three. It isn't going to do the sheriff any good if he arrests him and the prosecutor doesn't prosecute, or if the prosecutor prosecutes and the judge just lets him go. So they all work together in enforcing the laws of this country. Thank you.
Well said. And Perry County is blessed to have a very excellent group of judges serving us as well. So as long as we're handing out the compliments and acknowledgements, might as well chime in on that as well. Gentlemen, anything further?
Well, to close
Yes, sir.
that loop, I think we're blessed to have judges who understand that process. And I'm not excluding anyone, but just to pick an example, because I could name any judge in Lake County and nothing but praise would be deserved, but Judge Lucci was a police officer. He understands the risks that law enforcement have, the difficult situations, how the testimonies on the streets versus in court, what they mean. He has that perspective. And it's critically important that just like Judge Lucci, we take the perspective of law enforcement and public safety holistically, that it takes a great police department, it takes a great prosecutor's office, it takes just and fair judges all working together to make us safe.
Again, well said, and as long as we're lumping it all in there, we might as well talk about our public defender and the efforts that they put forward to maintaining the integrity of that system as well. So is there anything further to add? Okay, on that note then, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting before we come up with something else to say.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for joining us today.